Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Autist Circle, episode number 14, season 2. I'm your host, as always, the Bleach Demon. And the man of the hour, so to speak, is, well, Fat Dave, because he's going to be covering Alphonse Mucha.
Hello. Yeah. Man, we've been 14. We're 34. That's pretty good. We've done quite a few of these. So anyhow, yeah, we were talking about Alphonse Mucha today, who was the Czechoslovakian Art Nouveau artist. Although he was not super fan of being known as an Art Nouveau artist, but he's our example for it. So um yeah, he was a Czech nationalist and a man who revolutionized, like ad work and stuff like that. And so let's go ahead and get started, and we'll jump over to the timeline, and I'll read my little blurb for that. So as we can see on our history timeline, he encompasses all of symbolism, Art Nouveau. He's overlaps with the Belle Epoque, which is the end of the century art. And then he is all looks like decorative poster art kind of dies with him, but that's not entirely correct. It goes
Hmm.
on for a bit longer, but he was really one of the ones who revolutionized it. So, anyhow, let me read my shit here. So, Alphonse Mucha stands on the edge of the 20th century where art leaves the salon and hits the streets. Right at the crossroads of the late 19th century academic training, symbolism, Art Nouveau, and commercial poster culture, and nationalist historical painting. Art Nouveau can be traced back to the mid 19th century, but it gained prominence in the early 1890s as a decorative international style rooted in natural forms and swirling lines and organic ornament. Kind of almost like the Rococo. It's like an updated Rococo in that way.
Hmm.
It embodies the desire to create a modern style that broke from academic historicism. And Mucha comes after realism, impressionism, and post-impressionism and symbolism, but before the hard break of cubism, futurism, Dada, and full modern abstraction. And he isn't a painter of optical sensation like Monet. Uh, and he is not a radical destroyer of forms like Picasso.
Oh,
And
so
instead,
he's
he
got
represents
talent.
a yeah. He represents a different kind of modernism with modern beauty through design, print, celebrity, advertising, and mass reproduction, since most of his work was done with lithography, and so uh, it could be reprinted and reprinted and reprinted. So while Sargent shows the last flowering of elite portrait painting, Mucha shows the rise of the public image. His most famous works were not made for a palace, a church, or academy wall. They were made for the street corner, for advertisements, billboards, and magazines. And Mucha really helps make the poster an art object, not just an advertisement. He takes the commercial lithograph, something was usually meant to advertise theater or cigarettes or food or whatever, and he gives it the gravity of an icon. He is both central to Art Nouveau and also somewhat uncomfortable at being reduced to it. The second half of his career moves in a very different direction. Instead of Parisian elegance and commercial design, he turns toward Czech and Slavic identity. He is both modern and anti-modern. He uses posters, mass media, celebrity branding, graphic design that are distinctly modern, but his late ambition to serve beauty and history and uplift morality and national memory are distinctly anti-modern. He places in the art timeline, or his place in the art timeline, is at the turning point between old world and modern image. And he tried to create something monumental, national, and spiritual exact moment when European modernism was moving towards cubism and destructive abstraction. You know, crap like Picasso.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So, um, let's go ahead and move in to talk about the man here.
He's like the
So,
Czechoslovakian Colonel Sanders.
I know that's why I picked this image. He looks like Colonel Sanders. So Alphonse Maria Mucha was born on July 24th in 1860 in the small town of Ivanice in North Moravia, which was then a province of the Austrian Empire and which is now the Czech Republic. It's now in the Czech Republic. And his father Andrzej was a court usher, and his mother Amelia was a governess in Vienna. His family was modest and part of the emerging middle class in the region. And as a young man, he really liked. Oh, I skipped. This is Moravia, which is a really pretty, like European town that has a lot of that old world charm in it. Um, as a young man, he liked drawing, and this is one of his drawings that he did at the age of 8. He did this drawing, but his original foray into artistic expression was through music as a choir boy and a violin player, and that helped take him to Brno, um, this cute city here, to further his education. His music teacher was Pavel Krzyzkowski, who was the choir master at St. Thomas's Abbey, this gorgeous building here.
Wow.
Uh, and that was he went to that to have his studies funded by the monastery. However, he was not able. Krzyzkowski was not able to admit him, so he sent him to the choir master of the Cathedral of Saint Peter and Paul, which is this awesome building. And their master was able to admit him as a chorister and funded his education. And as he aged, his voice cracked, and he mostly played violin during masses, which of course is going to happen because he was an alto singer.
Yeah.
And when you get older, you know, you lose some registers and you go through puberty, whatnot. Totally expected.
Mm-hmm.
So he became devoutly religious, and he's quoted as saying, "For me, the notions of painting, going to church, and music are so closely knit that I often cannot decide whether I like church for its music, or music, uh, or music for its place in the mystery which it accompanies."
Hmm.
And his musical talents helped him continue his education at the Gymnasium Monroe, which is this building here.
Hmm.
So, um, in 1877, he was expelled from school for poor academic performance. And on his way back to Ivanice, where his father had secured a job for him as a clerk at the town courtroom, he visited friends in Usti nad Orlisi, uh, in a local church, possibly St. Wenceslas in Letorad. He comes across a fresco in the Czech Baroque tradition, painted by a local artist, Jan Umlauf, who painted this image here. And this is, I didn't put it in the notes here, but this was a painting by Jan Umlauf of a couple of people. And he is so taken by the work and the realization that artists of his own time were able to earn a living through painting that he resolved to become a professional artist. So in 1878, he applied to the Prague Academy of Art, but was rejected and advised to find a different career, likely due to his previous academic expulsion. But instead of entering the academy, he continued working an administrative job while becoming increasingly involved in decorative design work for local magazines and theaters.
Hmm.
Then in 1880, at the age of 19, he made a successful application to become an apprentice scenery painter at Vienna's Kautuski Borushi Bernhardt Theater Design Company, um, who does this set design here, which I think is really cool. This is for the
Wow.
Queen of Sheba, which was an opera by Carl Goldmark, and this was one of the designs they came up with for that. So it shows how much artistic talent they put into their set designs and stuff like that.
You know, it's
And
amazing that, considering he was rejected from the academy, that he didn't go on to a career in politics.
this mustache man did not go into politics like others we know of. So while he's in Vienna working for Kautuski, he enrolls in evening classes and visits a number of galleries and contemporary art exhibitions, and he becomes particularly interested in the work of Austrian artist Hans Marquardt,
Marquardt.
Marquardt,
Marquardt.
Marquardt. So, and you'll see this is a picture by Marquardt, Charlotte Wolter as Messalina in 1875.
Hmm.
And it has a very striking profile, and you'll see very similar things in Mucha's work. The female profile and the um, capturing of that beauty. So, as soon as my cat stops stepping on my stuff. So then in 1881, tragedy struck. The Vienna Ring Theater burns in a catastrophic fire that takes the lives of nearly 400 people. And the Ring Theater was one of the most important clients for Kautuski, and the financial damage caused them to dismiss many employees, including Mucha. So his first professional job as an artist really ends in an unfortunate dismissal.
Hmm.
So in the wake of the destruction, he takes a train as far north as his remaining funds can take him to Mykolaiv in southern Moravia, which is another one. I mean, the towns kind of look, they all look very similar, but I think it's just it's such a charming, it has such an old world European charm that I really enjoy these images. So I've packed a lot of them in here.
I don't blame you. I mean, that part of Europe is still very, very much intact.
Yeah. So while in Mykolaiv, he took small commissions for paintings, murals, and portraits, and he is well liked. And he shortly thereafter receives his first major commissions. A local landowner, Count Karl Kuhn-Balassi, commissioned him to paint a decorative scheme in his main residence, which was Emhoff Castle. And this is an interior image of the time, shortly after it was done.
Hmm.
Which you can see, it's just really, it's got some really great images, and then it's painted on the ceiling and everything. So he did a good job decorating it, and he was subsequently commissioned by the court's brother Egon to do work at Grandegg Castle in Tyrol, which is in North Italy. And this is a picture. This is about the best picture I could find of that castle. It's surrounded by trees.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to get a good image of it that doesn't have a tree covering it in some way.
and it's worth noting for the Tyrolean time. It's now in northern Italy. At the time, it still may have been part of the Austrian Empire.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was part of the Austrian Empire. Now it's in northern Italy. Yep. Exactly correct. So the paintings at Emhoff were destroyed by a fire in 1948, and so that's why there's no current images of that.
Mm.
So with the court support, Mucha was able to receive formal art training in Munich and Paris, or Count support, the Count Balassi with his support. And he toured Italy with Count Balassi, who was also an amateur painter. He toured Milan and Florence and Venice, and a few other places. And Balassi had introduced him to many artists, including a romantic painter, Wilhelm Kray, who painted this picture called The Sirens in 1874. And also Ludwig Morald. And in 1885, via the Count's financial support, Mucha was able to enroll in the Munich Academy of Fine Arts, where he studied for the next 2 years. And while at the academy, he meets fellow Czech students Karl Masek, who painted this. This is called Le Bus from 1893, and Ludek Morald, who painted
Hmm.
this image called The Egg Market in Prague in 1888. And he was also able to meet Russian painters David Witthopf, who painted this. This is a girl with a purple flower, and it was around 1934.
Hmm.
And Leonid Pasternak, who painted this. This is called The Night Before the Exam, and depicts Mucha and other people before before they go to an exam at school, which I think is pretty cool.
Hmm.
He also becomes an active member and subsequently the chairman of the newly formed Szkretska Spolek, or Szkretska Group, which was a community of Central and Eastern European art students living in Munich. And he was learning academic art in a German-speaking center while maintaining a strong connection to Czech culture. Also, while in Munich, he is the principal contributor to various publications published by his brother-in-law Philipp Kuber, including Crocodile, which was a satirical magazine. Also a horrifying Russian drug right now, but this is what its origins were.
All things are
And in
relative, it
eight,
seems.
right. Which I think this is a kind of a cool design with the crocodile wearing glasses and the dudes on his back. And then, of course, it has all the hallmark flowers and stuff that you see in a lot of Art Deco work, or we'll see in a lot of Art Deco work as we go forward here.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1885, he received commission to paint Saint Cyril and Methodius for a Roman Catholic church in Pisek, North Dakota, which
Huh.
that blew me away. This picture is in North Dakota.
I am very curious now.
Yeah. So he traveled overseas quite a bit. He traveled to America quite a few times. Let's see. So in 1887, under increasing pressure from the local government in Munich surrounding foreign students, Mucha moved to Paris after the advertisement of the Count, or after the advisement of the Count, and accompanied by his friend Karl Masek, who painted her. This is a drawing, and this is in the field from 1927.
Hmm.
And in 1887, he enrolled at the Académie Julienne. And this is a painting of the studio at the Académie Julienne. This is by Maria Kirstevska or Kirsteva, and it's called In the Studio in 1881. And that's where he studied under Joseph Lefebvre, who painted this super amazing painting, I think.
Hmm.
And this is called The Sorrows of Mary Magdalene, painted around 1912.
Wow.
And
That's really
Gustav
nice.
Bollinger, who painted this, which was The Summer of Repast at the House of Lucullus in Tusculum. He painted this in 1887. And this has a good kind of neoclassical feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And also Jean-Paul Lorenz, who painted this, which I think is amazing.
Oh, the Cadaver Synod. Yes.
Yes, the Cadaver Synod. And this was painted in 1870. And so in 1888, he moved to the Academy Colorisi, which is this. This is a picture, an actual photograph from inside the Academy. And between the two academies, we're going back to the Cadaver Synod because this picture is too cool. Between the two academies, it really gave him a firmer technical foundation to work from. And in 1889, as he approached the age of 30, The count really had decided that he had received enough education and ended his subsidies.
Mm.
And this really forced him into a world of professional art. And upon his arrival to Paris, he found shelter with the Slavic community there. And he lived in a boarding house whose owner, Charlotte Caron, sheltered numerous struggling artists. And she would often accept paintings or drawings in place of rent if needed.
Hmm.
And Mucho followed in the footsteps of fellow Czech painter and friend Ludek Marald, which this is another, this is a sketch from Marald, and this is called The Artist in His Studio in 1892.
Hmm.
And Marald was making a successful career as an illustrator for magazines. So kind of like, these are definitely precursors to Edward Hopper. You
Hmm.
know, Hopper was an illustrator for magazines and did a lot of that stuff. And he, which, you know, he hated because he hated the restrictiveness of the illustrator role. While these guys were first getting into it, and of course, mass print media was starting to become a really popular thing.
You
And
know, I have to wonder if Hopper painted during this era with magazine covers and whatnot. I wonder if he would have been able to tolerate it more.
maybe, maybe because I bet that these guys had a bit more freedom than Hopper did, because
Hmm.
Hopper ended up doing some advertisements, and by then they had advertisement agencies and art directors and people um who were really pointing or really directing what needed to be drawn. You know, they weren't given as much artistic freedom as these guys were. In 1890 and 1891, he began providing illustrations for a weekly magazine, La Vie Populaire, and he was also providing illustrations for Le Petit François Illustré, among other books and magazines. And this is the the cover for that. This isn't one
Ah,
of his. This is just the first one that comes up when you Google
search
that.
it.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, 1903 for Le Petit Français Illustré.
yep,
What is it? The journal for the students and no, sorry, my French is gone now. Never mind.
yeah. It was a journal for it was a journal for young artists and students, and you know, kind of like a hip thing at the time. So by the 1890s, his illustrations really had begun to give him a regular income, and he was able to buy a harmonium, which is like a piano, an organ mixed together, which really helped him continue his musical interest, and his first camera, which used the glass plate negatives, like we've talked about when we covered. Um, oh, God damn it, what was his name? Frank. FJ Hayes, Frank Hayes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he often took pictures of himself and his friends, which he regularly began to used to compose drawings. And he became friends with Paul Gauguin,
Hmm.
um, who did this. He was an impressionist painter, and he briefly shared a studio with Gauguin when he returned, when Gauguin came back from Tahiti.
Hmm.
And he became friends with playwright August Strindberg, who shared a common interest in philosophy and mysticism, along with any other bohemian artists and writers at the time. But by 1891, had taken on he was taken on as an illustrator for Paris publisher Armand Collins, and in 1892 he began to give drawing lessons in his studios.
Hmm.
He occasionally exhibited works at the Paris Salon, one time receiving an honorable mention for one of his drawings. And in 1894, he'd been in Paris for about 7 years. He was not famous, but he was not entirely unknown. And he had academic training in illustration experience and theater knowledge. And he had connections to Le Mercier printing works. And on December 26th in 1894, while at Le Mercier correcting proofs for a friend, he was asked to take on a last minute commission because their regular artists were away on holiday, of course, because it was right around Christmas. Um, Sarah Bernhardt, who's this lovely lady here, she was an artist and I mean she was
Playwright,
an
was it?
actress and a producer, and she did plays as well. So she wrote, directed, and acted in a lot of plays. And she needed a new poster for Gismonda, opening at the Theatre de la Renaissance just a week later. And that will actually take us to our first piece that we're going to look at. And this is the poster that he designed for that. So this was first designed in 1894, although it was first published really widely in 1895. And it's a color lithograph. The original poster measured 85 by 29 inches or 216 by 74.2 centimeters. And of course, was printed by Le Mercier in Paris. And the posters exist in numerous collections. So it's not just one, there's tons of them because it was a lithograph. They could just make them over and over. Gismonda was a four-act play by Victorien Sardou and was originally staged at the Theatre de la Renaissance in Paris, with Sarah Bernhardt both directing and starring. And Mucha's poster was made to promote the production opening on January 4th in 1895. Bernhardt needed a new poster for Gismonda, and the regular artists, like I mentioned previously, they were away for holidays. And the show was due to open in about a week. And Mucha took the job, and the result was so striking that when it appeared across Paris on January 1st, it created a public sensation. And the Mucha Foundation, which is the trust that holds on to a lot of his works and carries on his family legacy, they note that the collectors bribed bill stickers to get copies or cut them down from the hoardings at night. So these posters would go up and people would steal them, which, if they're, I can understand that. Like I have a few old movie posters myself and, or like not movie posters, but old show posters. And I think they're really fucking cool. And so I can understand why people would steal these, especially at a time when high art wasn't widely available to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So he does something very different from the posters of the period. Instead of aggressive color and bold street spectacle, he gives Bernhardt an almost sacred theatrical presence. She appears full length, elongated, and very dignified, dressed as a Byzantine noblewoman with an orchid headdress and holding a palm branch. And the poster is really designed like architecture.
Mm-hmm.
She stands on the base of a platform and she's framed by an arch with a mosaic halo behind her head. And her name curves around her like part of like a religious icon, while the title sits above in decorative lettering. It's not just a portrait of Sarah Bernhardt, it's a brand image. It's a theatrical icon and a religious looking advertisement. And really, it's an Art Nouveau manifesto. It was a game changer, right? This was the poster that really made him famous. So with this, he did not simply advertise Bernhardt's performance. He really transformed her into an icon and transformed the poster into a modern art form. So this was, again, it's like the precursor to a lot of the movie posters we see now. Because some of those are trash, but some of them are iconic, and that really, I think, can trace a lot of its roots back to Mucha and his work. So So in 1895, he signs a 6-year contract with Bernhardt to create posters. However, commercial art was not his only pursuit. During this time, he also creates a painting called The Spirit of Spring, which I think, I mean, it really highlights his talent as a painter and not just a printmaker or designer.
Hmm.
It really shows that he is an incredibly talented artist. And also The Judgment of Paris, which comes with this fancy frame and everything, which was a really cool thing. I like it. And he designed all of it. He designed the frame too, because he was a designer of that kind of stuff. And among other works. And he creates the first version of Seasons, which is this set of 4 panels here,
Mm-hmm.
and they will later be recreated and refined. In 1896, the Mucha style really begins to spread, um, and his work spreads beyond Sarah Bernhardt posters, and he's enlisted by magazines and other companies to create advertisement. He does work on La Plume magazine, which was a bi-monthly art magazine, and numerous advertisements. And he created an iconic ad for Job cigarette papers.
Hmm.
This here, which is, it's seen as it's a really enduring image. Um, And the same year, he signs a contract with the Parisian ad printer Champenois. And this opened the door for him to create decorative panel posters without text. And in response to the popularity of his posters, Imprimis Champenois introduces Mucha's work uh, on a variety of supports, including decorative. Okay, that's weirdly worded. Including decorative panels, calendars, postcards, theater programs, and menus. And the printing firm also licensed his designs and illustrations to companies and publications throughout North America and Europe.
Hmm.
And that will bring us to our next work that we're going to talk about. And this is called Zodiac, done in 1896. And another color lithograph, and it measures 25.8 by 19 inches or 65.7 by 48.2 centimeters. And of course, was printed by Champenois for La Plume magazine.
Hmm.
And it ended up being a calendar cover.
I
So
can't
the
imagine
Mucha
why.
Foundation, yeah, I know, go figure. The Mucha Foundation notes that Zodiac was his first work under his contract with the printer, and it was originally designed as an in-house calendar for the company, but later became an even more famous when Léon Deschamps of La Plume acquired the rights to distribute it as the magazine's calendar for 1897.
Hmm.
And it's really the distillation of Mucha's style. It shows a woman in a profile, flowing stylized hair and an elaborate bejeweled headdress. Behind her is the halo-like circular disc containing the 12 zodiac. So if Gismonda made Mucha famous, Zodiac helped define the stable formula of Le Mucha style, as it was known at the time. The idealized women and the halo, the ornamental line at the bottom, um, and the fusion of figure and design, and the transformation of everyday print culture into kind of a high decorative art. And the genius of Zodiac is it sits at the intersection of decoration, symbolism, and graphic design. The image is highly ornamental, but it's also carefully organized. The circular Zodiac ring provides structure. The profile figure gives the composition dignity, and the decorative line really unifies the entire thing. So, and this is what I said, you can see the profile of the woman. It looks very similar to that other painting we had looked at
Mm-hmm.
from Marquardt,
Well,
or
the thing
Marquardt.
that I find is very striking about it, it's got lots of details and flourishes in it, but
Yeah,
it's not overwhelming.
no, it really does flow very well. Kind of contrary to both Klimt and Moreau in their symbolism, it's not crowded. It has a lot going on to it, but it flows very well, and it's easy for your eye to follow the lines and really make out the details.
Hmm.
And on that line, we'll jump over to the next piece. So this is the next rendition of the 4 seasons. So spring, summer, autumn, and winter.
Hmm.
So these were published in 1896, and it was a series of 4 color lithographs, series of 4 color lithographs that were meant to be home decorations, not ads. Each panel was 41 by 21 inches or 103 by 54 centimeters, and each image has Mucha's characteristic flair and allegorical take. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter are portrayed as innocent, uh, sultry, fruitful, and frosty, respectively. Summer is let's go back to it. Summer is adorned with red poppies in her hair, and the figure is seen leaning on a grapevine while bathing her feet in shallow water. Um, Autumn is depicted as wearing a wreath of chrysanthemums in her brunette hair, and she is also gathering grapes from a vine. And Mucha represents spring as a spring as a blonde figure in a translucent white dress standing under a tree holding a lyre.
Hmm.
And meanwhile, winter is depicted as a figure draped in a pale green cape and sheltering from the cold, standing next to a snow-capped bush. And due to the success of the works, Champenois asked for designs for 1897 and 1900 as well. I
Hmm.
didn't include those here, um,
Mhm.
but they're out there if you want to see them.
I like the fact that there's just a nice transition between, but there's still some symbols that carry over, like the vines for the grapes and things like that. It's
Hmm.
very pleasant.
Yeah, yeah, very very nice, very classy, and I could see how like people would want, society people would want to have these in their homes. And it might seem a little old lady, but I could definitely see like we say old lady because this is the kind of stuff people would have had in their houses back in the times. But they're very classy pictures, and I think they're cool.
Yeah.
That's why I brought them here. So uh, we'll move on to his artistic transition. Um, and this is a drawing that he did. This is the seventh allegorical page from Le Pater, and this is "Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil."
Hmm.
Drawing by Mucha. In 1896, he was no longer merely a successful illustrator. He had become one of the defining visual voices of the Belle Epoque in Paris. His posters, designs, and theatrical work created the public face of Art Nouveau. But that success created a problem um, for Mucha was famous for exactly the kind of work he did and not what he wanted to be remembered for exclusively. Paris knew him as a master of elegant posters and beautiful women, but Mucha increasingly wanted his art to serve something larger. And around 1900, the larger purpose really started to take shape. The Austro-Hungarian Empire or Austro-Hungarian government commissioned him to decorate the uh, Bosnia-Herzegovina pavilion for the Paris Exhibition Universelle.
Hmm.
And so this is one of the designs from it. And this is an actual picture from inside of the pavilion.
Wow.
In preparation, he traveled. I know, isn't that super cool? Like, could you imagine just walking in there and seeing all that? It
See,
would be so amazing.
this just pisses me off that we don't have like world's fairs, world's exhibitions like this anymore. Where you
Right?
go and learn about a culture. It's like, no, just don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't learn about something new and interesting and get
Right?
grand artists to make statements like this.
Right? So in preparation for making this, he traveled through the Balkans, he gathering material, and his trip was crucial because it brought him closer into contact with his Slavic history and the culture and the national memory. This is where the idea for the Slav Epic was born. And the commission was prestigious, and his work garnered him the Silver Prize, and he was made a Knight of the Order by Franz Joseph I, who we've talked about before, for his contributions to the empire.
Hmm.
And the research really awakened something deeper in him because it pushed him towards the idea that his real mission was not to decorate Paris, but to create a monumental visual history of the Slavic peoples. And over the next several years, he tried to find a way to make that dream possible, which led him to America beginning in 1904. And he ended up making repeated trips to the US subsequently.
Hmm.
And the trips helped him establish himself as a portrait painter and artist, and in order to secure funding for his project. So in but in 1899, before uh, that, he also had collaborated with a jewelry designer, Jorge or Georges. I'm not sure how to pronounce that in French. Fourcroy, to make designs for a bracelet in the form of a serpent for Sarah Bernhardt.
Hmm.
Um, and he made this from gold and enamel. The bracelet can be seen in the poster for Medea with Sandra Bernhardt. You can see she's got it wrapped around her wrist here.
Hmm.
And he also helped design the interior facade of Fourcroy's shop in
Wow.
1901. Yeah, really cool. The centerpiece of the design were two peacocks, the traditional symbol of luxury at the time, made of bronze and wood, with colored glass decoration to the side of the shell-shaped fountain, where three gargoyles are spouting water into basins, and surrounding the statue of a nude woman. The salon was further decorated with carved moldings and stained glass and thin columns with vegetal designs, and the ceiling with molded floral and vegetal design or elements. And it marked a summit of the Art Nouveau decoration. And the shop was actually taken apart in 1923 due to changing tastes as the cubism and other more abstract styles came about.
Hmm.
And they were moved to the Carnavalet Museum in Paris in 1914 and in 1949. So it's currently in this museum here.
Wow. At least it was preserved instead of no, it's out of date. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, just get rid of it and throw it away like they would now. I mean, it's really beautiful and iconic design. And so yeah, I'm grateful they kept it.
It does make you really wonder, things like that. Just beautiful pieces of art and architecture and interior design kind of stuff. It gets thrown out and what we get like 1970s macrame bullshit instead. Really?
Yeah, yeah. We get lime green appliances and shag carpet.
Yeah, the
Or
height
now it
of
just gets
modern.
painted over, right? We get really austere, bland corporate bullshit now.
Yeah,
Um,
the terminal like millennial gray interior design. It's like what
uh,
kind of crack are you smoking? It all looks the same.
yeah, it's very brutalist and drab. Um, so before he could begin the Slav Epic, two important things had to happen. He needed a family life rooted in Czech identity, and he needed the money to make the project at the scale he wanted to do. So in 1903, he met Maria Shitlova, Shaitilova, um, who was usually called Marushka. And she was a young Czech art student from Prague, 21 years younger than him. And she
Good for
came to
him.
Paris hoping to study with him. Yeah, he had the swagger. So between 1904 and 1909, he visited the U.S. 5 times seeking funds. And in 1906, he returned to Prague where he married Marushka. And the two honeymooned in South Bohemia and then returned to the U.S. where he began teaching at the Art Institute in Chicago.
Hmm.
He worked with several patrons during that time, including the Baroness Adele Rothschild. And this is a painting of the Rothschild family at the time.
Hmm.
But most important was businessman Charles Richard Crane, who was described as an Arabist. at the time too, because he was very into Arabic culture,
Huh.
um, and helped fund and support a lot of artists as well. He met Crane in 1904 at a banquet in aid of Russia and in 1908. By then, Crane was commissioning portraits for him, and by 1909, Mucha had secured Crane's promise of financial support for the Slav epic. And the idea for the Slav epic had been born from his Balkan research around 1900. The American years gave it gave it the means to become real, and his marriage to Marushka deepened his connection to Czech life and identity. His teaching, portraits, and social connections in the United States brought him into contact with the patron who could fund the project, which was Crane.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting repeated theme with a lot of nationalist movements. Yeah, we're talking Irish nationalist, Chinese nationalist, yeah, even some of the German nationalist movements of like the 1800s. Um,
Mhm.
they all kind of tie their way back into the United States and wealthy patrons in the United States helping these disparate
Right?
organizations. So
They
hmm,
made a lot of there was a lot of business and money going around the United States at the turn of the century.
it,
So,
it's
just like
it's
now.
it's kind of a fascinating dichotomy of the old world wanting to revitalize itself, turn to the new world, and hey presto. So
Right?
maybe we can help that in future.
Might have to happen again. So, um, I guess with that, we'll move on to actually we're going to cover two pieces of the Slav epic, the first and the last. And the first one is number one, the Slavs in their original homeland. And this is, of course, the first part of the 20-part Slav epic. Painted in 1912, it's oil on canvas and it's humongous. It measures 20 by 26 feet or
Wow.
610 by 810 centimeters, and it currently resides in the Prague City Gallery. The full English title of the work is The Slavs in Their Original Homeland Between the Turanian Whip and the Sword of the Goths Between the 3rd and 6th Centuries AD. And he chose to start his history of the Slavic people in 4th to 6th centuries. At this time, the Slavic tribes were agricultural folks who dwelled in the marshes between the Vistula River and the Dnieper River, and the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea. With no real political structure to support them, their villages were under constant attack by Germanic tribes from the west who would burn their houses and steal their livestock. Um,
Hmm.
the couple hiding in the bushes in the foreground as their village burns in the background or on the horizon are the survivors of one of these attacks. The fear and vulnerability expressed in their faces beseeches the help of the viewer. And then a pagan priest, flanked by two youths symbolizing war and peace, floats at the top right of the composition. And these figures foretell the peace and freedom that will come to the Slav people when independence is gained through war. So, this is a powerful choice because it prevents the Slav epic from becoming a simple parade of national pride. Mucha begins with suffering, and he wants the viewer to understand that the later themes of faith, language, and culture and independence grow out of vulnerability and danger.
Hmm.
Oh, it looks like I cut that in there twice. All right. So, Mucha opens the Slav epic with the Slavs not as conquerors, um, but as fugitives, a people born from uh, a people born into history through fear, endurance, and the hope of future freedom.
Hmm.
So I think this is such a cool painting, and the fact that it's so big is also I think really
Yeah.
striking. 20 feet, that's huge. It's a giant painting. And it's funny because it's as big a painting as some of the ceiling paintings that we've looked at in the past too. But this is, of course, a giant canvas. And it makes, like, it's understandable why, one, he needed to secure so much funding for it. Um, but two, why he calls it that, why it's so epic, because of the scale.
Hmm.
So with that, we'll move on to the this is the last painting we're going to talk about. And this is number 20 from the epic. This is called the Apotheosis of the Slavs. And this one isn't quite as big. It's 15 by 7 or 15.7 feet by 13.3 feet, or 480 centimeters by 405 centimeters, and also is in the Prague City Gallery. And the full English title is The Apotheosis of the Slavs, the Slavs for Humanity, Four Stages of Slav History and Four Different Colors in 1918.
Hmm.
And this was painted in 1926. So it's the last painting in the series, and he really sought to bring together all of the themes addressed in the other 19 episodes of the Slav Epic and celebrate the independence of the Slav nations. The painting is composed of four different parts, characterized by four different colors. Each represents a successive period in Slav history. The blue in the bottom right of the painting represents the early years of Slav history. The red in the top right corner signifies the bloodshed of the Hussite wars during the Middle Ages. The figures cast in shadow below represent the enemy and the repeated attacks inflicted on Slavic tribes. And finally, the yellow band in the center lights up the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the dawn of the new age of the Slavic people. They
Hmm.
are saluted by young boys who wave green branches at them. And then the bare chested figure in the center of the composition is the embodiment of the new, strong, and independent republic, guided and protected by a Christ figure behind. The Slavs in their original homeland begin with a people hiding in terror, and apotheosis ends with liberation, light, and spiritual affirmation. Mucha is closing the circle. Suffering has not been erased, but it has been given meaning within a larger story of endurance. And if the first canvas really begins with the Slavs hiding in fear, then Apotheosis ends with them stepping into light, history, transformed into liberation, a sacrifice, and a spiritual destiny. So this is an intensely nationalistic piece. Um, and I find it kind of interesting. He hid a little American flag in here.
I mean,
Probably
it's
because,
interesting because there's an American flag, French, British. There's an Italian, a Russian, and
yep,
I'm not sure. There's like another one in there that's kind of. uh, I
yeah,
don't know what that one is.
I'm not sure which one that is, but it goes to represent, the Slavic people being kind of spread out
Mhm.
across the world, but then also being of one people.
Well,
Um,
and
and I,
something just because of my World War One-tism going on here. Um,
yeah,
you see, there's five figures of World War One era soldiers. You've got kind of a Serb, then
hmm,
I can't recognize maybe Bulgarian, not 100% sure. They're not Slavs, but
yeah,
yeah, there was some service. Um, and then you've got some unknown guy, Podolski's Legion, which was a big Polish regiment that was raised, and then the Czech Legion is the guy on the furthest right. And it's interesting that he's including those five figures as kind of the final liberation of the Slavs,
yeah,
which is period correct.
yeah. It's he did a great job of really encapsulating the history of his people in the painting, and trying to create a unified image. And if we had time, we would go through all 20 of them because they're really amazing works. Um, and if I had the ability to go to Prague, uh, If I had the ability to go to Prague, and maybe one day I will, I'll definitely visit where these are because they're currently on display.
I'm
And at
if
first, when I look at it, this guy kind of looks like Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. I
oh
can't
god,
not see
yes.
that, but
That's awesome.
but it's a really cool, it's a really cool painting and a very dramatic departure from the Art Nouveau pieces that we talked about previously. So it really shows his ability to work on multiple things, and the breadth of his talent. So moving on, we'll move on to the wrap up here. So between the years of 1912 and 1926, he created the 20 monumental canvases for the Slav Epic. He worked through the First World War when the Austrian Empire was at war with France. Despite the wartime restrictions, which made canvases hard to obtain, he continued his work after the war ended when the new Czechoslovak Republic was created. The cycle was completed in 1928 in time for the 10th anniversary of the proclamation of the Czechoslovak Republic. And while working on his epic, he also did work for the Czechoslovak government, which this is the decorated ceiling of the municipal house in Prague, and this was done in 1912.
Hmm.
In 1910, this where he decorated the ceiling of the house. This was finished in 1912, but he decorated the ceiling of another place. And he designed the Czechoslovak korun or koruna, this banknote. Um, he declined commercial work, but he did make occasional posters for philanthropic and cultural events. In 1928, Mucha and Crane officially presented the complete cycle to the city of Prague as a gift to the nation, and this is how it's displayed.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Um, isn't that? So it gives you an idea of the scale of those paintings, just seeing them displayed this way in there. Just humongous paintings, giant epic pieces, really, you know, a love letter to his country, a love letter to his people, and a proclamation of the Slavic people. So, in the 30s, however, the world, of course, around Mucha darkened. The dream of the Slavic liberation and peace that had animated the Slav epic was threatened by the rise of Nazi Germany. And Mucha was an old man by then, but he was still a symbol of Czech national culture. In 1939, Germany, of course, invaded Czechoslovakia. Mucha was arrested and interrogated by the Gestapo. And though he was released, the experience really uh, broke his health, and he weakened dramatically, and then he died on July
Hmm.
14th in 1939, just short of his 79th birthday. So I'm sure being arrested wasn't great for him, but he was almost 80 at the time also.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's just.
after he died,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
No, no.
No.
It's just like the timing of his life and the struggle with the Czech Republic, or Czechoslovakia. Um,
Hmm.
in a way, it was almost a benefit that he didn't get to live through the war and see the Soviet Union subjugate his people further.
That's it's probably you're probably right. So when he died, he was such a powerful national symbol that when he died, at that time the Germans had forbidden large gatherings. But when he died, everybody came out anyways for his funeral. There was a big, huge gathering for his funeral. Um, and so he was a like that's all that's the end of the presentation. Just a few anecdotes throughout is that we're holding him up as the kind of one of the defining voices of Art Nouveau. And that's how the presentation started. Of course, we're ending with his love for his nation and his people. But he really hated being known as an Art Nouveau artist. He's quoted as saying, "Art is not new. Art can't be new." So he didn't like because Nouveau means new. So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
he didn't like that, and he really resented the notion of being remembered as an Art Nouveau artist. In light of the fact that he was such an amazingly talented artist and created beautiful works like this. So that's it for Alphonse Mucha. Again, he's this is I didn't leave out as much details of his life as I did with Sargent, but of course, because he lived to be almost 80 and he lived a very full and rich life, and created, you know, over 1,000 works during his lifetime,
Hmm.
of varying things, paintings, lithographs, all sorts of stuff. He designed jewelry. He worked in architecture. He was a really multifaceted individual, and an incredibly talented artist. So, so that's Alphonse Mucha. Next week we're talking about Tamara de la Pinca, who is an Art Deco artist as we move into the 20th century. I did want to kind of get a more modern style, borderline cubist artist without going into that full on abstract, kind of deconstructivist Picasso style art.
Hmm.
So next week we'll be talking about Polish artist Tamara de la Pinca, and um yeah, that's what we got. So
Well, thank you
definitely
very
go do
much.
some more. Yeah.
I
There we
warned
go.
you.
So if you're interesting, go out and or if you're interested, go out and do some more, just Google some stuff on this guy. He did a lot of phenomenal work, and his style really did define art, and or define the advertising style at the time of the early 20th century. Um and his legacy can't be understated in our modern world. So thank you very much, folks. Thanks for coming out. We're a little over our time, but that's
Well,
our show.
art's important, and nationalist art is even more important.
Absolutely. So so love your art, love your history, and love your people, and we'll see you guys next week.
Indeed. Thanks for coming out, folks. Cheers.
Okay.